morning. Welcome.
Welcome to the topic on digital gym. We have a lot of territory to cover, but to get this started, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jeremy. I am the director and co-founder of Cam5. I want to start with a bit of a flashback. Our first gym we opened in 2005. YouTube was founded in 2005. The iPhone, who knows when the iPhone came out, the first one? 2007. The iPhone didn't exist. So I was thought with the problem of opening the biggest climbing gym in Asia and wrapping my head around how to operate this. And as many of you who maybe own climbing gyms or about to own climbing gyms have done or will do, I set about finding a solution to ease my problem. And there wasn't one. There was no off-the-shelf solution at all. I searched and I came across one solution called Wall Market, which interesting Kasim is familiar with, not personally. And I still remember to this day the opening slide or the landing page of Wall Market's website, and it literally had a photo of a person looking at a monitor screen with an Excel spreadsheet. That was the solution for climbing gym operation. Fast forward 4 years, we were attending the Climbing Wall Summit for I think it was the second or third year running. And I joined with my partner, Patrick, to lead a talk on the future of climbing gyms. And we had a little subtopic featured into that, which was about software solutions and what we should do about digitizing our software, digitizing our gyms. And I remember this knee-jerk reaction, I could almost feel it, this knee-jerk reaction at the suggestion that everything to do with operating a climbing gym can and will be digitized, and most importantly, it would be a good thing. So, fast forward another 17 years, and here I am, moderating this discussion on the digital gym. Now, I had a different problem. My problem was there wasn't a solution available. For the new climbing gym, your problem is navigating the abundance of solutions available, understanding what is the need to have versus the nice to have. What are the fundamentals that you need? And what would be some of the value-added aspects that you could think about improving how you're operating your gym? To help me with that, I have a panel, and it is, I'm very proud of this panel. They certainly know a lot more than I do. Like I said, I came from having to start from the ground up. What we have on our panel, if I can introduce, is Dr. Kasim, founder of Kryptonite. Adil Azmoun, founder of Climb Buddy and Topo. And Mura Hawkins, founder of Better. So we'll start by allowing our panelists to give a short introduction about themselves. Kasim, you want to start?
Yeah, thanks. Is there a slide coming?
Yep.
I see it's on its way. But yeah, I'd like to introduce myself first. First of all, I'm a climber. I've been climbing since, crack, it was about 16, 17 or so. And I'd say my passion is really in the mountains. And yeah, I've done mountains all over the world, from Atlas Mountains, Himalayas, down to Ecuador. But yeah, obviously spend a lot of time in indoor gyms as well because they're more accessible. What else? I've got 2 young boys, Alexander and Angus, so I'm also a dad. And my background's in technology. So yeah, I can speak a little bit about where I've come from. Back in the early days, I was leading a research team over at Newcastle. So my PhD's in sensors and signal processing. and I was using these sort of technologies to measure human movement. So this is how the body works, and using sensors and maybe accelerometers you've heard of. You've got them in your smartwatches. And back in 2013 or so, we were using these to look at stroke and Parkinson's and movement disorders. Yeah, I had a little spin out of Newcastle University and eventually sort of sold that company and found myself doing consultancy work. Eventually, one of those consultancies ended up with Mammut, who we all know manufacture backpacks and ropes, and quite a large company, around for 160 years now, I think. And actually ended up developing the world's first climbing tracker. So this was a product launched in it was just kind of on the pandemic. And during that project, we were measuring human movements and using these wristwatches. And there was really a lack of, well, part of climbing is movement, but also difficulty comes along with the movement, right? You can execute a move, but it depends on what the angle of the wall is. So going along with that, we needed a route database, and at the time there wasn't any really good ones that were available, so that's where Griptonite was born. And this is a project I've been working on for the past, crikey, 6 years or so. I'm proud to say we're now in 17 different countries, running just around 170, 180 gyms are using our products. We've run over 700 competitions in 2024. This year will be more. And yeah, really the product is going right back from university days, taking a user-centered approach, understanding what users, or end users as Patrice put them, but customers, what do they want? And they come into the gym wanting an experience. It's about movement, it's about enjoying the space and working with people and trying to put technology behind that to enhance that experience. And so yeah, hopefully I can speak and answer some questions to that.
Thank you, Kasim. Adil?
Hi, everyone. Okay, 2 parts for me. Number 1, why I'm here. Number 2, who I am, which I think is a bit more interesting for you guys. So why I'm here is because mainly I'm in tech, obviously, like the other panelists here. I started Climb Buddy way back when, I say way back when, but it was after COVID, so it's not that long ago. Mainly as a conversion tool for gyms in Singapore and Southeast Asia. Because gyms here have arbitrary grading systems, we don't generally follow the V grading all the time, so customer going from gym A to gym B gets lost. So I built a product basically to crowdsource information to be able to allow these people access to that information, but that evolved over time to be more of a scoring, leaderboard, hosting product, which is going to be used for Crank this year, actually. That is actually not my full-time job. I'm just a solo code monkey for climbing projects under that brand, but my full-time job is mainly in my AI tech startup, very small, very new, but exciting stuff in AI happening in industries even outside of climbing, which I think we'll touch on later. But yeah, now get all that dry stuff out of the way. The more interesting thing about me is who I am. So for the next slide, I've been climbing since 2011, so I have been climbing only for 14 years. I think I've been alive about as long as Kasim has been climbing, so really feeling like a fetus right here. It was very serendipitous. I joined my junior college intent on joining like choir or student council or something. Then somebody dragged me into a climbing trial, and yeah, the rest is history. Yeah, what else? I'm quite connected in the Singapore gym scene. It's a small community, so everyone knows everyone. And I've been trying to inject tech into the market in Singapore and hopefully in Southeast Asia a bit more through some more custom projects and such. I'm quite excited to see where AI can impact climbing in all these areas. I'm not going to go into depth now because we're going to talk about it later, but I'm a strong proponent of AI. I understand that there are people who are going to like clench up at that claim, but yeah, we can talk about it. But I also am a strong believer that tech is meant to amplify the experience. It's not meant to sterilize it, so we need to pick and choose where it applies the best. Really excited to talk. I'm very thankful for ACS for inviting. I'm really honored to be alongside Kasim and Miora on this. I feel like a small fish in a big pond, but yeah, let's get it started. Miora?
Thank you. So, hi, I'm Mira. I am originally from the US. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and I started climbing when I was 6. I joined a climbing team shortly after my first figure 8 knot, and then went on to be the team kid, the birthday party belayer, the bathroom toilet washer, the front desk person, the route setter, and then eventually I also became a gym owner, as I also opened a gym in Malta about 4 years ago now. So I've held pretty much every position in a climbing gym. I studied neuroscience and math for my bachelor's degree, and then went on to study neural systems and computation, which is sort of the interface between neuroscience and computer science. I did that at the ETH in Zurich, Switzerland. And I continued working in Switzerland in finance, specifically in fintech. So I was working at, again, the interface between technology and another industry, this time finance. At that point, I had kind of left my climbing behind for a while. It wasn't clear to me that there was a viable career for me in the climbing industry. And then when I decided to open my own gym, it was just incredibly clear to me that there was an opportunity to improve the technological situation in climbing gyms. So at the same time, I started developing a CRM specifically for climbing gyms called Beta. And that went on to become more of my full-time role. So now, luckily, I have an excellent manager who takes care of my gym, and I can focus most of my energy on making great software for gyms and working with a lot of awesome people. We also have clients around the world and get really great feedback from new markets all the time, which is wonderful. So I'm really excited to be here in kind of a newer market for us. We have a couple of clients in Asia and Australia, but it's always good to hear about new problems and new ways of finding solutions that can then spread to other countries around the world. And one more note about me is I've spent a lot of time competing as well, so I'm really interested in movement science, kind of like these guys, the side of climbing that's maybe a little more flashy. But I spent some years competing on the IFSC World Cup circuit as both a junior and a senior athlete in all 3 disciplines of lead, speed, and boulder.
Thank you, guys. All right, so the topic of digital gym, it could be very broad-reaching. I mean, there's a lot of operational aspects of a climbing gym that could be digitized. So to help us zero in on subtopics that would be beneficial to you, the audience, we're going to play a little exercise. If everybody can stand up. No. All right. So take a seat if you presently manage or own a climbing gym. Take a seat if you are a prospective climbing gym owner. You're looking to own a climbing gym. Take a seat if you're a route setter. Okay, by process of elimination, we've deciphered that the rest of you guys are software engineers and looking to steal some insights, so you can all leave. Everyone take a seat. Thank you. Now, we wouldn't be doing this topic justice if we didn't bring technology into the discussion. So behind me now is a QR code and a URL, if you can't scan it, where you can contribute questions to the discussion. If you don't have a question of your own, you can actually vote on the questions we've already added. So there are questions in the panel now. If any of those questions get your vote, go ahead and tick them. Or you can chime in with your own questions. You can actually vocalize a question, but we heard from previous discussions it was not always easy to hear the question. So yeah, feel free to type them in on your phone. All right. I'm going to get this discussion started. Kick this off with opening the topic which is probably at the forefront of everybody's mind right now, because it's certainly at the forefront of these devices. Whenever you go on YouTube or any kind of platform, artificial intelligence. What is it? And how is it going to impact the climbing industry? So I'm going to hand back to Dr. Kasim to give insight on exactly what is AI, because we feel like there may be some misunderstandings, and some insight from the panel on where they think this could transfer or transpire in our industry. Kasim?
Cool. So it's really good to see we've got a massive range of people in here, from route setters to expert software engineers and gym owners. So yeah, I'm going to hopefully, in really, really simple speak and not coming from a computer science topic, AI is a really broad spectrum. So we've got computers doing stuff, and typically we can put them maybe into 3 brackets. So computers are good at spotting patterns in things. This is a topic of AI, and maybe we could even, I don't know, weather forecasting, for example, it could be considered AI in this respect. We look at weather patterns and it's going to rain tomorrow. AI also covers the range of maybe making predictions or recommendations, and this could be something like Spotify, for example. We know you're really into reggae music. Here's Bob Marley. This is also AI. What else? Large language models. Probably most people in here, I ask them AI. The first thing is ChatGPT, right? This is AI or these chatbots. It's a legitimate topic. But yeah, I just really try and make the point, AI is a huge spectrum. So when we're talking about AI in the climbing gym, it's a really complicated thing actually to answer, because we're talking lots and lots of things. The second part of your question is where do we see?
Where will we
AI?
where are we likely to see AI start to take hold in the climbing industry? Or specifically in a climbing gym operation?
So my company Grip tonight is like a multi-facing company. So I'm dealing with end users, climbers, and I'm also dealing with gyms. Both of these personas are my customers. From the climber's perspective, they're coming into the gym to have an experience, and so AI or technology maybe can be used to enhance that. Where have I seen it? Well, I talked a little bit about Mammut and the Climax project. So we had these wristbands. That was something I've seen it. That's we also see it on kilter boards, for example. That's another use case of AI, and now we're seeing route recommendations perhaps even on the kilter boards. In my own sort of research, we're looking at movement science again, taking beta videos. We get about 35,000 beta videos every single year, and that's a huge amount of data. And when you consider indoor climbing routes have a lifespan of a month, there's got to be some value in all this route setting activity. So yeah, we're looking at maybe we can learn from past routes and bring those into, future routes, or even recommend to climbers better techniques. So that's another topic we're looking into. But so far, out of all of those, I haven't seen any of them like really take off. You know when you get a bit of tech like Dropbox, and it just sets on fire and goes. So out of all of those sort of things, I haven't seen any of them really set on fire yet in the way that I might have liked them to. Which leads me back to the second customer I deal with is a gym owner. And it might seem like a really dry topic, but I really think this is the area that I think is going to really help or be a good use of technology in the short term. And to dig a little deeper, I mentioned I deal with a lot of gym owners around the world, and there's kind of two common things that I see a lot of them struggling with. And even the big chains that are absolutely smashing it, they still are focused on these two topics of first-time users coming into the gym and not coming back. We can call this churn, as to give it a name. And the second one is customers who kind of get into climbing and, well, let's put it like this. You're in the market of selling tickets or memberships and passes, and for a customer to really buy one of those, they've got to make use out of it. So they've got to come enough times to the facility to get value out of that. So there's this challenge of increasing engagement or retention. And to do any of those things, we've got to talk to customers and we've got to convince them to attend or come back. And to do that at a large scale is challenging. People are complicated beings. They have personalities and abilities, and they're interested in different topics and different time zones and all sorts of complicated things. So that is where I really see a good use of technology in the really short term. And yeah, maybe
Okay.
we can.
Thanks, Kasim. Adil.
Yeah. Okay, so Kasim touched on two end users, seems to be coming up a lot, that word nowadays. Climbers and gym owners. Most of my projects nowadays are with gym owners. I come from a personal background as a climber, so I think like Miura, I actually was a competitive climber for very long, beneficiary of the sport, and so I kind of know what I would expect from a gym and from the climbing experience as a whole. I think generally the climber as an end user, they're not so receptive with AI in the experience at this point. I think reasonably so. Climbing is a tactile experience, right? You want to go into the gym, you want to work out, you want to experience climbs, movements, and that is, if I'm going to be very reductive about it, like the point of climbing. So from that persona, I guess there's no real commercial value at this point, but for gym owners, or at least the projects that I've worked on with gym owners in this region, actually it's been wildly impactful. Number one, AI, in my opinion, is going to impact all sectors across all functions, whether you like it or not. I think yesterday Benedict from Bumped, during the developing talent segment, he was talking about how hard it is to get talent nowadays, how do I say this? Be able to sieve through talent that are just using ChatGPT in the process versus talent who are actually well-versed in the function and the role in the industry. So I think actually nowadays gym owners really need to know what's what with AI. They need to know what it's capable of, what it's not capable of, how to identify it within the deliverables coming in from your employees or even from vendors. Okay. Number two, you need to know how to use it, because whether we like it or not, it's really making strides in things like marketing, copywriting, image generation. I think we got a few funny images to show later when you try to generate images with AI. So I do believe it's more of a soft skill impact. All functions need to know what's what and then see where it applies. For a gym owner, I think there's a lot of value in terms of generating business insights and being able to distill some of the data that you already have. Who's a gym owner here? By the way, out of all this, how many of you are very in tune with your sales data, with your visitorship data? Oh, one, two, not bad. But there were more hands raised. So actually, there's a lot of room for you guys to leverage all of this data to be able to make the next decision, the next marketing campaign, the next event you want to try, the next customer base you want to reach. These are all within your grasp. And actually, AI is making that a lot easier nowadays. You just need to find the right talent. So for me, actually, the third thing is, I'm of the opinion that even though climbing is a tactile sort of experience, I do think as business owners, there should be someone technologically savvy in your team so that you know what's what. Even if you don't know what's what, you can rely on this person to tell you what's what. So there's so much for you guys to leverage on as business owners. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting next few years as things develop in this arena.
I have a bit of a different take, I think, maybe a less optimistic one than these two gentlemen. I think it is absolutely true that AI is here and it's not going anywhere. It's going to be an important part of our lives going forward. We have all agreed together that what we understand as tech people as AI is quite different from the colloquial understanding of AI. So ChatGPT and these large language models that you prompt and receive, usually text or an image. The applications of AI that are more fine-tuned and trained and the ones that we all work with more are things that require enormous data sets to be accurate. So you need a ton of training data. So like all of Cass's beta videos that can be used to analyze movement and stuff, that's necessary to get good output. But typically, things like ChatGPT are not going to have a lot of awareness of our specific business lines. So in the climbing industry, we like to think of ourselves as being special and different from the rest of the fitness world. And that's false in a lot of ways, but true in some. And it is important to have models that are accurate and fine-tuned to produce output that's going to be meaningful. So I see a lot of people using ChatGPT, for example, to produce Instagram stories and posts and the captions and LinkedIn posts. So this is a bit mean, but I did screenshot this from a post on my LinkedIn timeline. And this is from a consultant in the climbing industry. And I think we can all probably agree that there are at least 10 things in this image that if it were a real image would be absolutely unacceptable to use in a marketing photo for your gym. I mean, where to even begin? Allowing people to put their shoes on the couch? But I mean, really, like, there are people climbing with no ropes. There are people with ropes that aren't attached to anything. There are mats that are not underneath. There's a couch underneath the wall. So there's the plant, yes, that is not going to be soft for a landing. So, I mean, it's important to have accurate content. And even if you do use AI to generate captions or to generate images, I mean, I would argue if you're using it to generate images and you're a gym owner, you don't have a single photo of your gym, come on. Anyway, but you need to have someone who's going in and checking. You need to have a human who is competent, trustworthy, and on the ball to go in and verify that that content that's been produced is correct, and then to correct it if it isn't. Because this is an obvious example with the image, but when we're talking about captions on posts, you don't want to put out a post that's going to be alienating a large portion of your audience or conveying something that's inaccurate, poor information that doesn't reflect the nature of your business. So I would definitely be wary of an over-reliance on AI. That said, there are certainly tools that AI can be built into and trained properly that can give a much better output. And those also will tend to be less resource intensive. So I mean, something that's worth looking into if you're not already aware is the horrible environmental effect of large language models. They're incredibly bad for the environment, and that's where, at the end of the day, a lot of our business is going towards something that is preaching environmental concern and care. I mean, our sport originates from going outside and appreciating the outdoors. So I think it's very two-faced for us to then turn around and use something that is consuming tons of water and energy and resources beyond what it's giving back.
Okay, great. So the questions are coming in pretty thick and fast. I'm going to have to ask our panelists to keep their answers pretty short. Let's kick it off. Number one voted question. If you had to build a gym tomorrow on a shoestring budget, what 3 digital systems would you absolutely not go without? Who wants to start?
Sure, my 2 cents. Brand new gym in a city, maybe with a competing gym, maybe with a community that's non-existent. You want to get the word out there, so the best way to do that that I've seen is hold an event, hold a community event. So it doesn't need to be like a really high-profile IFSC style, but an event that's really inclusive, lots of categories, kids categories where the parents come. That's a competition, right? You can put food on, there's a competition element. Counting paper scorecards for a lot of people is a ball ache. Like, your staff are there to check people in, serve coffee. They're not there to data entry. Competition platform would be a really important one for me, actually.
I have 3, and really, really critical. I think might not just apply to climbing. Sales system, POS, because there are gyms out there that still kind of do this manually, or maybe they don't leverage it properly. Visitorship system, so that process of checking people in is automated. And the last thing is sort of waiver. I think these are all really critical systems, or maybe because I come from Singapore where things are a bit more digital, really critical systems, and they get a lot of flow through all the customers. So it will be in your best interest to make sure that's digitized.
I would say you absolutely need to be tracking your marketing uptake. So you need to be using tools like Google Analytics or Facebook Pixel, Meta Pixel. If you don't already have a dedicated marketing person who's looking at this data, someday you probably will, and you will want to have historic references. It's free and easy to set up, and most modern CRMs will integrate with them out of the box. Then you also need to make sure you have an analytics platform, and that goes along with every other tool you're using. So you want to have one place where you can monitor all of the data that you're collecting on your clientele. So what both of these guys have mentioned about event participation and demographics and visitorship and what kind of passes people have. You again want to make sure you have access to this data and an easy, clear way to report on it. And you shouldn't have to have someone on your team who knows how to write SQL queries. You should be able to have, I mean, we're not tech companies, we're climbing gyms. So you need to have someone who can look at a chart and understand this is what's going on in my gym. I'll just stop at 2.
Okay, great. Next question. What are the most overlooked digital tools that first gym founders tend to skip or later regret?
I can start on this one. So one thing that we see quite often with new gyms is, we're all climbers, and I think we all kind of understand the landscape of trying to save a buck. We all like to get a good deal. We like to not spend money where we don't need to. But a huge mistake that people make is to just get the absolute cheapest system that will suit their very basic needs without looking forward into the long term. So again, even if you're not using all of the functionality of something from day one, it is quite difficult to make a change later on because a lot of times your operations get built around your system. So it means not only migrating data, but it means retraining all of your staff, retraining your customers, potentially updating your offerings. And if you've built everything around the cheapest software, this is going to be a lot more work. So don't skimp and make sure you get the tool that fits your needs. Understand your needs and get the thing that works for it. It's worth it.
I echo pretty much the same sentiment. In particular, I think any system that is client-facing, think really long and hard on it. Because the moment you need to migrate that, you are introducing toil to all your customers. And that's going to have an impact, a business impact for yourself as gym owners. So yeah, do not skimp out on the cost and I guess the mind space in analyzing what's the right tool for you. Yeah.
I think I understand the question, but I come at it maybe from a different angle. The staff in the gym are really important, right? They talk to people. They're the interface with your customers. So, number one, don't give them admin sort of tasks that are mundane and they're not going to enjoy doing. And that can be automated. So, yeah, it could be printing out every set. Little things need to go at the bottom of each route. So really sort of boring tasks that no one really likes doing. Get a system that does those and make sure it's nice and easy to use. Invest in stuff that would free up their time. They're a valuable resource. You have to pay the wages every month. So saving staff time would be I'd put my chip on that because yeah, happy staff can interface with customers and do their human sort of job nicely and with passion.
Great. Okay. How can climbing gyms use data to make smarter decisions about route setting? This is quite broad. Route setting, staffing, or member retention. Very broad. Adil, you want to join?
Yeah, sure, I'll kick this off. Okay, let's leave route setting to the end because that's going to be a bit, I think, controversial. But member retention and what was the other thing? Staffing. Okay, so member retention and staffing is not a climbing specific problem statement. I think there's plenty of platforms out there that give you that data, whether you're doing like HR softwares that work with rota and staffing schedules or visitorship software that your customers use. Usually underlying these software, you do have access to data. And that's where I kind of call back to what I said just now. You do need someone, I think, with a bit more technical background to understand how to leverage this data. Because I think for most of these softwares, they do give you access to the data, but then it comes as a report that looks like, who knows what a CSV file is? Okay, good. More than I expected. So, yeah. Being able to translate something like a normal CSV file or Excel into reasonable business insights, that's actually a step that some gyms, I think, might have a gap in. So don't underestimate, I think, training your staff or yourself to be able to understand this kind of technical documentation that these systems give you, because usually it's already available. Yeah.
I could say a bit about retention. So we've heard the term first time customer. I'd make the point not all first time customers are equal. So for instance, this is the first time I'm coming to Malaysia and climbing at Camp 5. So I'm coming to Camp 5 system as a first time customer, yet I'm relatively, I consider myself I've got some experience, whereas a person who's coming to Camp 5 for they're a complete beginner. It's a first time boulderer. They don't even know what bouldering is. Maybe I was talking to one of the girls. They're two different types of first time customer, yet the way to differentiate them is maybe on experience or ability, or you've got to differentiate or segment customer bases and talk to different customer bases differently. Number one, important. And bringing that back onto retention. Retention is the activity of, if you like, convincing someone to come back to the gym so that they'll spend money and maybe invest in a membership. If I'm a tourist in Malaysia, chances are I don't come here that often. Don't waste your time. I'm on holiday, right? Whereas if I'm a total beginner, then I'm definitely the type of person you want to get into climbing and motivate to come back. So having knowledge of someone's experience or ability is important. How to talk to these people? I've got my own climbing shoes. I don't need rentals. First time absolute beginner, incentivize them with free rentals for the first couple of times. Could be a good retention or incentivization scheme. So the point I'm trying to make is retention schemes should be considerate of not just how many times you're coming to the, they can be a little bit smarter, and yeah, having some knowledge of your customer's ability, or other, you wouldn't offer a boulderer a free harness hire, for example. So ability and discipline are really important, and we can go really deep on this, but yeah, some basic understanding of your customer helps with retention.
And I'll expand a little bit on what you both have said, and I agree completely. And we use the term, when talking about conversion rate, we use the term qualified visitor. So a qualified visitor is someone who, in some universe, could convert into a member. So you don't want to calculate your conversion rate based on everyone who walks through the front door, because, as Cass mentioned, I'm not going to buy a membership here. I would be nuts to do so. And I think a lot of people here have this similar problem that I have in my gym, that we're a holiday destination. My gym is on an island in the Mediterranean, and so a lot of times people are coming there, and maybe they're coming for work and they need to get in there climbing, but they're not going to become a member. Maybe they're on holiday, and maybe we can convince them to come on one of our outdoor climbing trips or something, but we're not going to convince them to move to Malta and take up a membership. It's not going to come down to them coming to our gym. Maybe we can help edge them along if they're there for a job interview, but it's not the main point of our business. So it's important to take that into consideration, and I would say in general, when looking at all kind of data, and this applies to the route setting stuff as well, you need to make sure you're understanding what you're looking at. So a lot of times when we look at membership queries, we're looking at like retention rates and new member uptake and stuff, and what every gym defines as a member is different. Some people want to include their punch card holders. Some people want to include their off-peak members. Some people just only want to include who's on the standard monthly full membership. So you need to define that for yourself, and you need to understand the needs of your specific business. If you're in a university town, are you going to have people who are coming and taking up membership in the fall and then dropping membership in the spring? Every location is going to have something really specific and different about it, and you need to understand your specific edge and what makes your gym special. And the data can help you understand that as well. We all have hunches of what's unique about our gyms, but it's important to see the numbers validating those hunches and perhaps enlightening us to things that we're not aware of.
I think we missed the route setting part so far.
Yeah, that's actually coming up in a later question.
So
Okay.
I'll circle back on that. Previous life, I was a route setter for on-site, way back, really out of practice now. How many route setters are here? Who am I going to piss off now? Okay. Might be a hot take, but I do believe technology can progress to a point where it can really supplement and help the route setting process in terms of an ideation perspective. So I think we talked about beta videos just now, right? So in a similar thread, given the assumption that we do have an access to a database of different kinds of routes and styles and wall angles and such, I do believe that there is a way for us to be able to train something to give a rough sketch of what a good beginner boulder might look like, and then a route setter can move off from there. But I'm also of the opinion that climbing as an industry might not be ready for it at this juncture. So the technology might be able to accommodate, but I don't think the community or the market might be able to. So route setters, I think your jobs are still quite relevant and quite important, I have to say. I love what you guys do. But yeah, the other aspect of it is actually more on feedback generation. I think there are a lot of tools out there that allow you to attach a route to setters or particular sets or themes. I think Kryptonite does this actually pretty well. If you guys ever get to see a demo of Kryptonite, so customers can actually know, oh, what kind of route this is before trying it, or which setter set it, or which event it was tagged to, or what kind of theme it's under. And it allows the customer to give feedback on whether, hey, you gave it this theme, did it hit the mark or not? Or allows them to say, oh, I really like when Brandy sets, when setter sets particular routes, and I tend to come back to routes set by this guy or girl. So that kind of feedback is actually, I think, quite immensely helpful for the setters, definitely, as a point of validation, and even the owners of gyms to know, oh, what's working and what's not. So I'd say this is in the realm of when a gym kind of scales up and wants to know where it wants to min-max and take its setting direction or marketing direction even. But yeah, in the realm of setting, I think it's still quite relevant. I don't know what you guys feel about it.
Okay. I don't need AI to tell me that we've got about 5 minutes left and we're 3 questions into a 15-question quiz. So, short answers, rapid fire. We're okay with that? All right. Maybe you've already answered this question, Adil. Will AI assist in route setting or eventually take over? Bang.
Yes, but there's a lot of lower hanging fruit. I think there's a lot of technology to be implemented way before AI has anything to do with it. I think just having basic statistics on setting capabilities, setting profiles of your setters, what your clients want. If you have guest setters coming in large metro areas when there are setters coming from other gyms, to understand what they can contribute to your team is going to be a lot more important first.
I don't know how many people were in the route setters thing previously. I kind of concur with their answer. They're the designer, and it's a bit like a fashion sort of industry. The designer puts forward their opinion of what's fashionable, and the people like it or don't. But yeah, maybe there's tools that we can provide to be useful to route setters to form their opinions, but that's my take on it.
Blessing or curse? Gamified climbing solutions like light up holds with apps or projected climbing games?
It depends on your market. For people who are targeting real climbers, let's say, if you want to get clients that's anyone in this room, curse. If you're trying to tap into a market of people who are coming in once or twice for an afternoon birthday party, blessing.
I think, like everything, they have their time and their place. I use a kilter board, but then with my headphones on and I'm being antisocial, but then I also go to the gym to be sociable and hang out with my mates. So, yeah, both.
Same, they have the time and place, depends on what the market wants, but no one's going to deny the success of moon boards and kilter boards, right?
Do you have a suggested digital solution for making events bigger?
Yeah, come and see us after the show. This is a long answer.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
What is a real world use of AI in climbing gyms today that actually delivers value, and isn't just hype?
I've seen route recommendations engines, but for outdoors, have real value. So I have to travel several hours to get to climbing sometimes, and knowledge of the weather and whatnot when I get there, and previous experiences really helps me minimize diesel in the van. So that's a good use for me.
I would say probably the most common thing that you might not even realize is some of the speech-to-text, speech-to-text algorithms. I don't think we should be replacing customer service with AI as much as possible because those touch points are super important and can really contribute to retention levels. But using tools just to make your workflows more efficient, so being able to just speak a message and it's written down and you can communicate it to your team is super powerful.
From a, I guess, physical industry perspective, even outside of climbing, there's a lot of strides in terms of crafting trading plans based on biometric data. So that's quite interesting, I think relevant right now. Outside of that, I think in the large language model arena, there's a lot of application. And I think if you want to get into that, we'd need a separate discussion on that. Yeah.
Okay, we're already at 11:45. Do we have extra time? Yeah, we started late. Are you guys okay? Is the audience okay if we continue? All right. This might be a good question to finish on before you give some passing ending comments. What is an ROI? What is the ROI of AI tech and climbing, and what would be the low-hanging fruit that would have the most impact on revenue?
We specifically tried to address AI at the beginning of this conversation to avoid having the whole talk be about AI, but it's very validating that you guys are all very interested to hear about AI. I would say there is a lot of low-hanging fruit that doesn't involve AI at all. There's a ton that needs to be implemented and that isn't being done in the climbing industry and in the fitness industry in general. However, the climbing industry specifically is behind even in that wider space. And that's those very basic things like understanding how your marketing is performing, understanding your clientele, understanding your offering, and being able to communicate this information in a simple form and allowing people to make purchases as easily as possible. None of that stuff has to involve AI, and it can improve your bottom line immensely. So I would say the lowest hanging fruit is below AI.
Was the question, what is the ROI? Yes. Yeah, so I mean, that's simple, right? It's got to be pounds or dollars on your bottom line, on your, that's a simple one. And any technology you adopt has to either save you time, which costs you money, make you money, which is more customers, or save you money through cutting time that people have to spend on other stuff. So yeah, it boils down to pounds or dollars or ringgits. So yeah, that's a simple.
Okay, yeah, ROI. I'd say vast majority, based on the current understanding of AI by the common layman, is time savings. So this is usually in things like copywriting or correspondence. These are going to be the lowest hanging fruits. Beyond that is going to be a bit more customized and bespoke per project. I think we've already discussed like where it might apply to climbing, but the kind of infrastructure and groundwork that needs to lead up to that evolving into a product with a significant ROI in the industry, I think is might be too much for the market to handle at this point. One thing I think that is quite interesting, maybe for newer founders or newer gym owners or people who are intending to open a gym, there are opportunities to use AI tools to sort of supplement some functions. Things like if you want to come up with your marketing copy, it's not going to be as good as a real person, because I'm a strong proponent of the fact that these roles, they do need to be vetted by a proper professional. But it gives you an opportunity to play around and see what it looks like and know what you want or don't want from these tools. So I guess the barrier to entry for these kind of projects become very low nowadays. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I think is a different discussion, which we can have after this panel.
Okay, I think we have to wrap up there. Before we conclude, any final comments from the panel?
I just summarised. Number one take-home message for me was climbing's an experience, and your customers come to enjoy themselves. You're competing for their attention. You're competing. You're trying to get them to come to your venue and have a really nice, lovely time and socialise. So, adopt technologies not because they're cool, but because they enhance and do something for your customers. And that could look like, having your staff more available and more interfacing with customers, saving your staff time, making your staff happy. Be smart about how you apply technology or AI or whatever you call it, and keep your customers and your business at the forefront of there.
I do believe, I think I prefaced this at the start, that for you to go from, I guess, a small business to a thriving business, you do need to have someone on the team with the know-how. So whether that's yourself upskilling to understand tech, or hiring someone, or finding a partner that is well-versed in the industry and the developments, I do think that should be a priority. If you want to evolve your gym from just like a home-based situation to something really, really big and successful and thriving, because there's going to be an edge over other people with passion. I think for most gym owners, passion is the currency that we usually work with. But to succeed, I don't think it's enough. You do need to invest in these skills and knowledge, and eventually tools as well. Yeah.
I would say we're in a phase, an era of things changing very quickly in the world, and it's very hard to predict what the world is going to look like even 2 years from now. I think if we looked back just a very short time ago, none of us would have imagined we'd be sitting here talking about AI for an hour in a climbing gym conference. So you need to make sure that you're remaining vigilant to the way the world is changing. Even I think there's a conception of people understanding the way the algorithm works on social media, and that you need to feed the algorithm a certain number of times per day. But actually the reality is that that algorithm is changing constantly. It's being tweaked all the time, and there's no answer to, what the answer is today might be completely different tomorrow. So don't let yourself get caught up in the idea that things are globally a certain way. You need to be ready for change, willing to embrace change, and take advantage of it. And be looking to other markets as well for inspiration. There's a lot of, there are a lot of things happening in the wider fitness industry that can apply to us. There are obviously some things that don't apply, but be aware, essentially, is my takeaway point.
Thank you. So obviously the three panelists have a lot more to speak. I'm sorry I had to cut you off and keep the answers short. Thank you, Kasim, Adil, and Mura for your feedback, and for the audience for taking part. We weren't sure whether the pigeonhole was going to be hit and land well, so we're surprised. And a lot of questions. We didn't get to more than half of the questions. So those people who didn't get a question answered, I'm sure these three will be happy to meet with you after the seminar. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of ACS.